So now I want to look at doubling and tripling of the vocal in a bit more detail. So we're going to take a look at what you can do if you're limited by the sort of content that you have with the vocal. So perhaps you've been given a track to mix and it only comes with one vocal take rather than loads of different vocal takes that you can then take what you want. Or perhaps you had a singer into the studio and you've only managed to get like 1 or 2 different vocal takes of the chorus that were usable. So let's have a little look at some ways in which you can sort of get extra takes. Now, of course, the best way is to just record those takes then and there, like I've done with this tutorial. Obviously, I have the luxury of me being my singer, so I can just record whenever I want to. But if you don't have that and you've got a limited amount of takes, you can go back to the recording of your chorus vocal, the COMMENT track that we left behind a little while ago. And if I unmute that lot, so these parts here were the final takes that I used for the chorus of this track. Now, if I look at that, obviously I've got this take down here, which didn't even get used, so I can use that full take for doubling, no problem at all. I just need a spare audio track, and I can just drag that down onto there, and there I've got one, at least enough for one take that can be doubled. And then what I've got left out of the rest of it, I can then use for the next COMMENT track. So if I just go through and select the different audio slices to what I previously selected, then I've got another completely different vocal take which I can then use. So if these takes, of course, then I just follow the steps that I've already shown. We'd go through and do all the pitch correction and then the timing correction, and then we'd end up with, of course, 2 takes which are much like my already done doubled left and right. So I'll just mute that for a second. But what happens if you could only get one extra double take out of it? Let's just pretend that we don't have that one there, and that we've only got this one vocal take. So I'm just going to show you a couple of tips to sort of maximize on this. But before I do, you just want to know that, of course, the ideal is getting extra recordings to use as double takes. If you're using a double take, like a single double take, and making duplicates of it, like I'm about to show you, it gets sort of more artificial as you go down the chain. So I'll even show you how to make a double out of just the chorus alone with no double takes whatsoever. But again, the more you sort of go down the chain, or the less material you have for use, the sort of more artificial it's always going to sound. Although you can still get kind of better results than literally if you don't use any kind of doubling whatsoever. So I'm going to show you these techniques. So first of all, let's just show you on this one. So we've got our double take there. I'm going to render that to one track. And we'll just scooch that off to the side. And just for now, we'll forget about our vocal harmonies as well. So we're just going to concentrate on our main lead vocal and the double left that we've got there. So I just reset the pan on that for the moment. And if I just play that, now of course I can just mix in the extra vocal as it is. Which will, of course, have the effect of sort of fattening up the vocal anyway. And again, like with the parallel processing I showed, I could EQ, like say, most of the high end out of that doubled vocal and sort of use the low end of that extra vocal take to beef up the main vocal. But of course, that can be done on the main vocal with parallel processing. So what I want to achieve by having this extra double take is really what I actually achieved with the 2 double takes. So I'm going to show you a little trick here that you can do just to create the sort of stereo effect that I had with those extra double takes. So I'm just going to copy that vocal down onto another track. And again, I'm going to pan one hard left and the other hard right. So what I want to do here is just move this vocal take just slightly forwards of that one, not by that much, only needs to be a very, very small amount. But if I move it forwards, so they're playing at slightly different times, it's going to have the effect of stereo widening the 2 vocals. I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting. So that's one way you can get a sort of tripled effect, if you like, just from having one doubled vocal take. And of course, then you can apply any of the normal effects and what have you to those doubled vocals, just like we did with the parallel processing and just like we've done with everything else. They can be treated exactly the same. And one further thing you can do to separate these vocals even more is in your DAW, you can actually just detune these two takes slightly from each other. So if I go up like 14 cents on one and go down 14 cents, minus 14 cents on the other, I'll be waiting for you. Or I could go even more extreme. And there you go, you can really hear that it's just actually having a sort of really separating effect between the two vocals. I'll be waiting. It's just another way of thickening up the vocal. Okay, so what happens if you don't have any double takes at all? You literally only have one chorus. Well, one neat little trick, if you have, say, an a cappella or you've been given one vocal take of a whole song, if the second chorus in the track is sang the same as the first chorus, but they are two sort of separately recorded choruses, then you can use the second chorus as a double for the first chorus and then vice versa when you go to use the second chorus. And it'll have pretty much the same effect as exactly what I've just shown you right there. So what happens when you don't have these vocals, when you don't have anything at all? You literally just have the one chorus track and that's it. Well, you can do a similar thing to what I've just shown you, but using Autotune in the extreme. So I'm just going to duplicate the main vocal. For this vocal, I'm going to route through to my already existing vocal backing group. So it's already got the correct effects set and a bit of a mix done on the level. And I'll just change the color of that just to stop any confusion. So we've got our main vocal take and the copy of our main vocal take. I'll be waiting. Now, of course, at the moment, it's literally pretty much just like using a parallel processing track. Any effects I apply to this is just going to sound exactly the same as if I was just using parallel processing on the main vocal take. So to make this take actually somewhat different to the main vocal take, we can use the Autotune, or in Cubase's case, Vary Audio, or you might be using Melodyne, as I've mentioned before, and you can use that function to straighten the pitch out. Or in Autotune, use a very fast pitch correction setting. So I'll just go into that, and then with all the audio selected, I'll just go straighten pitch, so that you can see the pitch for every single note of vent has now been completely straightened. So I'll listen to that on its own. I'll be waiting. And that then I can now mix back into the main vocal. I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting for you. I'll be waiting. Now, as I mentioned before, the more you go down the chain here, the more sort of artificial the sound is going to be. But if you really looking to fatten up the vocal, you know, dance music or whatever, and it's not so important for your particular track that you do have like a slightly sort of processed sounding vocal, then this kind of thing is really, really helpful because you can still use it to fatten up your vocal so you can help the vocal sound bigger. And like we did before, where this take here, where we just doubled it up, I can do that again. And then I can pan one of these hard left, one hard right, go down into it and just offset this by a few sort of samples. I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting for you. I'll be waiting. And again, I can pitch shift these out, so just using the cents, this is cents, this would be like minus 25 cents out, and the other one plus 24. I'll be waiting. So there you go, you got the vocal on its own, the main vocal.
I'll be waiting for you.
So the vocal, the timing there is a little bit too extreme. That wants to be toned down slightly. Doesn't really quite that noticeable.
I'll be waiting.
But again there, you can really hear.
I'll be waiting.
So even when you don't have any extra vocal takes, you can still make the chorus, or you can still double up words just using these sort of techniques. And once again, you can always start going through parallel processing. You could add distortion to these vocal harmony takes, or, you know, the copies of the chorus. You can really sort of go for it. But of course, like I say, when you're dealing with really extreme settings, like extreme auto-tune settings, then it's always going to sound somewhat artificial. So the last thing I want to show you in this video is just how to work out what a good harmony would be. So if you're a singer yourself that's perhaps just not used to working out your own harmonies, or you have trouble sort of getting the right notes for harmonies, then I'm just going to show you a nice little neat trick that you can use to find a decent harmony within your track. And of course this works as well for a singer. If you've got a singer in the studio and she's not hitting the right harmony for you, you want something else, something a bit more pleasing or whatever it is, then you can use this little technique just to give them like a harmony track that they can actually shadow, so they only have to copy the instrumentation that you're about to show them. So I'll just play a little bit of the track just so you kind of understand what's going on, just a little bit of the verse and this chorus there that's highlighted.
Understand, just look out through your own eyes and tell me how you feel. The pain and all your suffering is the same pain that I feel. I am animal. I am animal.
Okay, so what we're looking to get a harmony of is this chorus vocal there, the I am animal.
Same pain that I feel. I am animal.
And of course, I've got my doubled vocals there, but that's not a harmony. That's just singing an exact repeat of the chorus vocal. So I want to make a harmony. So if we are having problems working out a decent harmony, what we could do, of course, is duplicate this track. And then on this chorus vocal, the copied chorus vocal, I can then analyze the pitch with whatever program it is that we use to analyze our pitch. And I can start moving these notes about and trying to find a harmony.
I am animal. I am animal. I am animal.
You could figure out a harmony that way just by changing the notes of this vocal.
I am animal.
But it's not so easy. It's very off-putting sort of sound, so it's not going to be quite so easy for the vocalist to follow along with that. It's really off-putting. So I'll just get rid of that. I'm just going to show you quickly how you can make a nicer track to follow along with, just by extracting the MIDI from this chorus vocal and then using an instrument to actually make the harmony out of. So I'll just go into our chorus vocal, and of course I've already analyzed the pitch. And you could, of course, just copy these notes in MIDI. So you could take out the notes and the timing of the notes and just reproduce them in a synth, fine, or in Cubase at least, you can just click Extract MIDI. I just want just the notes and no pitch bend data, fixed velocity, and I click OK. And it just creates a MIDI track with exactly the same notation as what my vocal is doing in the chorus vocal. So I'll just set up an instrument to play something. So I'll just use Nexus, and I want just a very basic single layer lead. Let's have a dance saw and just turn the pitch up by an octave and route the MIDI track through to Nexus. So okay, so already, of course, you can hear it's just playing exactly the same MIDI. Now, I don't really need all of that MIDI in there. These two notes just make it sound a little bit funky, so we'll just ignore them. because these main notes are the ones that the vocalist will need to harmonize with. So what I can do now, I've got that, I can delete that one at the end as well. So what I can do now is highlight them and just drag them to different notes to try and find a harmony. In this particular track, there's only white notes being used, so this is just a fairly sort of good grouping for them because they're all on white notes. But if I wanted a slightly higher harmony, some of these will fall on non-white notes, so it's going to sound a bit funky. So I just have to correct these notes, just move them up till they're on the closest white note. And there we go. So rather than having a really horribly pitch shifted vocal for the singer to match, now they have an actual synth line which is much cleaner and sits over the top of the other vocals. So now when you go to record, they can actually hear this harmony and they can just mirror that, which is much easier for them. And of course, it gives you the chance to actually go around and really find pleasing harmonies. So it's just a way that you can create a track that your singer, or yourself, if you're the singer, can shadow. And it just makes finding harmonies and getting the harmonies correct just a bit more easier. Obviously, if you're more of a professional singer, or you have a more professional singer in the studio and they're used to singing harmonies, then you're probably not going to need this. But it can be helpful if the singer can't quite hit the harmony that you want, and you've got a specific harmony in mind. And you can work this out before you've even got the singer in the studio. So you can just quickly do that, find a nice harmony, keep it to one side. So when the singer's in, you can just play that to them and ask them to sing that specific harmony.